Right. Sorry for the long ass delay, but I had to get some stuff sent out first. My bad. Yeah, man, I'm very excited to share some results that I got from AfricanAncestry.com. You have to check them out. They do some good work. And it's about my DNA test. I did a patriclan DNA test, meaning I tested the paternal lineage of my family, which is my father's side, my father into my grandfather, great grandfather, backwards until whenever. Only through the paternal line of my father. That's it. And I did that test in December, and I got the results back today. You know, one of the reasons why I did this test, the test actually is quite pricey, and I thank my wife for buying me that test in December because I found it important, and I've been stressing for a while that Black people over in this part of the world need to find out who their people are, what's their lineage going back to the continent. Our lineage goes back past sugar estates, goes back past indigo and tobacco estates. It goes back past struggle. It goes back to real people on the continent. And for a lot of us, we don't really pay that no mind. We tend to look at ourselves as just descendants of slaves. And while that is true, while that we descend from enslaved people, it goes back beyond that. Simply making us become slave descendants is actually what the European wanted. They wanted to make us just slaves. They wanted to destroy any contact that we had with our family back on the continent, our cultures, our music, our economics, our spiritual systems, our language, all of that. So in order to do that, they had to make you feel like all you are is a slave. Your child became a slave, their child became a slave, etc., etc., etc. And we kept up the same conversation over here. And that goes for people in South America, Central America, Black people, South America, Central America, North America, and in the Caribbean islands. We keep up the same mentality that we are just descendants of slaves. So I don't buy into that. So I asked my wife to get me this test, and I specifically wanted the Patriclan test because I wanted to test my father's side because I do not know a whole lot about where he comes from. My father is from the island of Nevis, which is the other island that makes up my country, St. Kitts and Nevis. And, I don't know a whole heap about where he comes from. My dad didn't meet his dad until very late in life. And I don't know a whole lot about his side in Nevis. And I did the test knowing that the people African ancestry won that about maybe 30% or so, a large part of the results of men on their paternal side leads back to a European ancestor. And we understand why. A lot of the times, a European man forced himself onto one of our women, and we came along out of that. So they break our paternal lineages and send our paternal lineages back up into Europe, away from our true place of origin. And that's unfortunate. But I did that knowing the risk that it would take. Our people have, Black people, in the Caribbean and in North America have a history of being somewhat sometimes mixed with other things, to varying degrees. And we tend to just consider ourselves, some of us, let me say some of us want to look for everything else instead of who we are as Black people. So we want to be Portuguese, we want to be European, we want to be Indian, we want to be all kind of things, except what we are in majority. We know the mixing comes in sometimes at different levels, but in majority, what we are African people. But yes, there are times that we have the European in us. And most of us have maybe 20%, 30%, sometimes more of European in us because of varying degrees of mixing by the European. So I did it with the knowledge that this might be the case. So let me just share that I did Ancestry.com test before, But the Ancestry.com test is a general test. It tests your whole makeup. You know, it doesn't single out any parts of your family tree, no paternal, no maternal. It just tests everything. So let me try and share that with you now, so you can see my results from Ancestry.com. So here you go. I hope you can see that. This is my results from Ancestry.com. This is the current results. They have done some updating back and forth. I hope you can see that. It always remains about the same for me on Ancestry.com. So it's again, this is a total admixture. This is everything. This is the same for me. My maternal and paternal lineages, their maternal and paternal lineages, all mixed together to give you 100% of a person. So this is my lineage. It says 42% Nigeria, 18% Benin, Togo. So this is my 10% England, Wales, Northwestern Europe, 10% Mali, 8% Ireland, Scotland, 8% Cameroon, Congo, 2% Ghana, 1% Germanic Europe, 1% Spain. So you have what? 10, 8, 1%, maybe 1% Spain. Another, so you said 20% of European in me from all over the place. Now, I know, for instance, where the European in my family generally comes from. My mother's side, I know my mother's side of the family. I know the mother's side of the family. Where the European in my family generally European on, I think, my mother's her paternal line and her maternal line, both of her lines have some European in it. I know that for a fact. Her paternal line, both of her Frasers, they go back to a Scottish man. As far as I know, as far as what my grandfather told me, they go back to a Scottish man, Fraser. And her maternal line, Scottish man. Her mother's Scottish man, father was either a mulatto man or a white man, called Fred Smith. And that's where generally I know the European is on her side, but I didn't know anything about my father's side. So this is Ancestry.com. Again, 40% Nigeria, 18% Benin, Togo, England, Ireland, Scotland, Cameroon, Ghana, Germanic Europe, 1% Spain. Every so often, this they update it and it goes back and forth, because before I didn't have any Spain, I didn't have any Germanic Europe. So it was low number of European, but again, it goes back and forth, in that way. I didn't have any Spain. I didn't have any Germanic Europe. So it was low. That's my Ancestry.com. Again, it goes back and forth, There's an echo. Is there still an echo? Oh, I'm not sure why there was an echo. Let me try again. I don't want it to sound bad, so let me try one more time in case you didn't hear. Let me just share my screen. Right, so in case you didn't hear, I have 42% Nigeria, 18% Benin, Togo, 10% England, Wales, Northwestern Europe, 10% Mali, 8% Ireland, Scotland, 8% Cameroon, Congo, Southern Bantu peoples, 2% Ghana, 1% Germanic Europe, 1% Spain. Let me stop sharing. Let me see what y'all say. You just tuned in? Was that clear just now? I want to make sure everything clear before going further. All right. So let me say it over again. Okay, we're good. All right, Shane. So we're gonna try again. I'm gonna repeat what I said about my ancestry.com DNA test. This is ancestry.com. Right. So I was talking about my ancestry.com DNA test. Now, ancestry does the entire person. They trace you through your maternal and paternal lineages. They trace who you are in general, everything, everybody. And they come out with all your percentages of where you have DNA from. So again, 42% Nigeria, 18% Benin, Togo. All these are West African countries. This is Benin, Togo here. 10% Wales, England, Northwestern Europe. 10% Mali. 8% Ireland, Scotland. 8% Cameroon, Congo, Southern Bantu peoples. 2% Ghana, 1% Germanic Europe, 1% Spain. Now, before, as I said, I didn't have any Spain, I didn't have any Germanic Europe, but every so often, Ancestry start to go through a process where they start to update your DNA tests to see which comes closest to what. So this has gone to like 3 or 4 updates, but it always comes out to about 20% or a little less European, in my DNA from them. Always about the same. So as I was saying, in case y'all didn't hear me, I had a vague idea as to where the European was in my family. On my mother's side, her father, which is my grandfather, Ernest Fraser, as far as he told me, he descends from a Scottish man that came into St. Kitts. And I think his father was a mulatto or something like that, or something like that. And that's where the European was on my mother's paternal side. On my mother's maternal side, her father was a man called Fred Smith. Fred Smith was either white or partly white. You understand? So on my mother's 2 sides of her family, she has some level of European. On my father's side, he's from Nevis, Butler's Nevis. I had no idea. My father met my grandfather, his father, very late in life. So I never really get a chance to ask a lot of questions. And I probably should still reach out to my grandfather. He lives in England to ask some questions, but that's another discussion. So what I did this time was I got the test, thanked my wife for that in December, and I specifically asked for the paternal DNA test. The paternal DNA test can only be used by men to trace their lineage through their paternal side. Only men can take the test. So whoever descends from that paternal lineages, whether it's men or women, have the same lineage, but only men could take the test. So my test goes from my father, it goes up to my grandfather, his father, all the way back. Now, I did the test knowing that there might be a danger that it might come out European. It might come out something else because we know the European would forcefully sometimes insert himself into our families and breaking the paternal lineages back to the continent or wherever our place of origin is from. So I did the test because I wanted to know exactly my paternal lineage. That's what I wanted to know. So I did the test with that knowledge in mind. Right. Was that clear, people who are listening? Was that clear? Hey, Janelle, if you want to jump on with me, I could send you an invite, and you could jump on with me, and you could talk it up with me. If anybody want to jump on and be part of the panel with me as I go through this whole spiel, let me know. Okay, Shane, good to go. So we're onward. And for those who wasn't here or who want to listen again, the reason why I did this test is because it is important for Black people to know the lineages. Black people have been tricked into this thing that we are only residents of this island and all these other slave plantations around here. What the European was successful in doing was detaching us, our people, our ancestors, from our continent, detaching us and just telling us that we're from here. And it's been passed down that all we are is Kittitian. Kittitian is a nationality. Of course you're Kittitian, but anybody could be Kittitian. Anybody could be Kittitian. A Chinese man could be Kittitian. An Indian man could be Kittitian. A Lebanese could be Kittitian. Anybody, African could be Kittitian. But only us seemingly only uses our nationality to define us. It cannot be that the Lebanese, the Syrian, could say, I am Lebanese, I am Syrian. The Chinese can tell you, I am Chinese, I am from here in China. I am a Chinese, but I have Kittitian nationality. It cannot be that the European Nazi could tell you exactly where the people come from. But the African, for some reason, us, will always tell you, I just Kittitian. But how would that work? How come we only have that? How come with us, we only Kittitian? Why? Because we have a very unique situation in terms of our forced migration to this country. Nobody else was forced to come here, or forced migration to this country, and the way in which we had to survive on these plantations around here. There's no other people that had to go through the things we had to go through. And one of the things, again, we had to go through was a complete destruction of our link, a complete severance of our link to our mother continent, our mother cultures. And I say cultures because we come from multiple African cultures. Africans came here and we were just Africans. They just call us African. That is why people just say Africans. But we come from multiple different peoples on the continent, ended up coming here, mixing together, in majority, and being mixed in with other people eventually. It was important for me then to start the process of repairing that, which was done to us. I had to start with me, because I can't just talk all of this and not be the example, if you all see what I'm saying. So I did the test in December, and I got the results this morning, actually, this morning. So let me not go much longer. I don't want to make this a long video. I want to show you now my results from African Ancestry. African Ancestry is different from Ancestry because they actually tell you if your lineage on whatever side comes from Europe, they'll tell you it comes from Europe. But if it's an African lineage, they will tell you which ethnic group in Africa, because that's where they specialize. They specialize in getting DNA from ethnic groups on the continent, and they could trace you back there. So, without further ado, let me just bring it up. Let me share my screen. Right, here we go. So this is it. They had to email it to me because, of course, the whole Corona situation, they had to mail it in to me. They had to email it to me. So eventually I'll get the hard cover stuff with the official certificate and all that. But these are my results. So it starts up. Great pleasure analyzing your Y chromosome DNA. We've returned to share paternal DNA test with people belonging to two groups, the Sogo and the Ateke people in Gabon and the Mbundu people in Angola. Let me tell y'all something. When I saw that my lineage, paternal lineage, does not go back to Europe, I can't tell you how happy I was. Because it means then my father's lineage at least, was not broken, was not interrupted by a European. or anybody else for that matter. My father's paternal lineage goes all the way back to the continent. All the way back to the continent. It says below is a copy of your Y chromosome polymorphisms used in the analysis. You have inherited this segment of DNA through your father, and it has been passed on consistently from father and son over the last 500 to 2,000 years. Our scientists compared your Y chromosome polymorphism to those from people around the world and found a 100% match to samples from the Sogo, Ateki, and Mbundu people. Your sequence similarity score of 100% reflects our level of confidence in the accuracy of your match. Moreover, everyone in your family that descends from your paternal grandfather and his brothers share your Sogo, Ateki, and Mbundu ancestry. That is my paternal lineage. I could tell anybody now that's who I am, at least on one side of my family. So that goes for all my sisters, that goes for my grandfather, that goes for my grandfather's sons, or anybody that comes from him, that goes for all of them. This is your paternal lineage, stretching back to the continent. Yeah, I'm happy because I don't have to just be a Kititian no more. That's my nationality. But I know my people them now. I know some of them. And I took a risk because I wanted to know more about my father's side. And I'm sorry he's not here today to see this. I'm sorry he's not here today so I could tell him what it is. He too was interested. But this is important. I could tell my sons them now, look to these people. Look, study their culture. The Sogo people and Ateke people in Gabon and the Mbundu people in Angola. Don't need to be jealous, January. But this is what it's about. African people using the technology that's available to them to reconstruct their lineages. That's the whole point of the exercise. Let's compare with the ancestry results. Now, my people on my father's side are from Gabon and Angola today. So let's look at the ancestry map to see how much of that I got in the whole admixture. This is generally where they say, where the African Ancestry DNA test say, my father's people are from. We're talking Angola. Gabon is in this area here. This is Gabon here. And Angola is down here. But only 8% is reflected on the ancestry.com. Meaning, in totality, I'll have to, of course, do my maternal lineage to see where that stretches back. My mother's mother going all the way back. I want to know what it is on her side. I need to know. Of course, I'm not going to know, my father's mother's lineage. I won't know what that is. But it's interesting. So I want to encourage all Black people, even some of you who like to say, "Me an African, me a Kititian," always understand Once you only claim Kittitian ancestry, you only claim what they wanted you to claim, which is the slave. Anybody could be a Kittitian, anybody, but we all don't have the same lineage. And it cannot be just the African alone that doesn't know his or her lineage. It must never be so. It could never be well in your heart knowing that all you're tracing it back to is a slave plantation. We go back further than that. Black people have the luxury of counting from the very start of recorded history. So we know as Black people, as African people, cannot sit down here and say, well, be a Kittitian. The term Kittitian or Saint Christopher only existed in the 15th century or something like that. But we was here from the very beginning of the history of humankind. And I want to encourage our Black people, do whatever you can, utilize any means you can utilize to find your ancestry. Don't listen to these fools talking about DNA testing is ain't real and you can't do this. I would have never do this if I was listening to certain elders in my own family who tell me, don't bother with that. That's one of the issues with Black families. We don't talk about with family. We don't tell stories about with family. So we don't know half with family. We don't know them. We don't know. You got some people who don't even know their great grandparents, don't even know them. Because we don't consider our family is important. We don't consider that. When I ask elders in my family about certain things, they watch me like I weird. They don't realize how important it is. For them, it was never important. And I guess sometimes when you grow up in poverty, that's all you know. That's all you can. So you only grow up trying to get from day to day. Your family ain't important because what? All I just poor like. Didn't matter to you. But now it should matter to us because we have the luxury of technology to reconstruct these things. Don't wait on the government to encourage the historical research because there's no government in the Caribbean that cares nothing about reattaching Black people, the African people who make up the majority of these islands. There's none that's concerned about reattaching us culturally, linguistically, and damn sure not spiritually to the continent. None. Do it yourself. It is important that we understand we are not just descendants of the enslaved. We come from somewhere. When the Madeiran Portuguese could tell you, my people came here so and so, we came from Madeira and descended from people who came from Portugal, that's a sense of pride for them. The Indian could tell you, my people, well, they're in Trinidad or wherever, could tell you where in India the people came from. They have documents of that. The Europeans that's here could tell you, my family are, are the Wigleys and all of this, and my people came here from England and all these places, from this place in England. That's important for them. Everybody can trace their lineage except the African. It cannot be so, and that cannot be right. Encourage you for yourself, for your children. Take some pride in yourself, in your heritage. Take pride. The ancestry test sometimes goes on sale. Sometimes it's about 70 something US dollars, maybe $99 regularly. You could start with that test I did that test years ago. This test I did here from what's I'm gonna call it? This test I did here from AfricanAncestry.com. This test costs sometimes about $300 US. But you can wait for it to go on sale and it comes down to something. But it is worth it. You're more guaranteed to get African results if you do your maternal. Exactly. Sometimes it goes down to 59. 59. But on AfricanAncestry.com, you're more likely to get, you're more guaranteed to get African results if you do your maternal line. Because it is a very rare occurrence that African men had children with white women or whatever. Your mother's mother's mother is usually going to be a black woman going back to the continent. The issue usually comes on the paternal side, where a white man forces himself onto a African woman, a black woman. Take pride in your heritage. Don't wait for nobody to do it for you. Again, my lineage is on my paternal side, the Ateke and Sogo people of Gabon, that is Central Africa, and the Mbundu people of Angola, that is Central Africa again. That's it from me. I hope some of you use the opportunity to find out more about yourself and know that you're more than just a descendant of a person who that was enslaved and forced to do labor for their oppressors. Y'all have a nice day. That's it, signing off. Peace and power. Thank you, Janelle. Blessing Shane for listening in on me. Hope you all understand now. Peace.